Howdy people! Today is Monday, October 30th. It is 4:33 p.m. and there's a view to the west of the CN Tower off in the distance. The temperature is 15 degrees Celsius. My phone tells me I'm in Midtown, but it is full of shit. I am downtown at CIBC Square Park and I see Medano in the chat, Random Travels, Janice, Vivian, Manuel, Steven, Harjot, Jenny K, Marie Palmer, Mark M, Marge, Math Doctors here, Mark Foley, Brent, I Like to Walk, Hunden, and everyone else. Thank you so much for tuning in. Just rolling my sleeves down. It's a little cooler up here than I thought, and you can hear a lot of trains rolling by because it is rush hour right now. Let me just check the audio. All right, it sounds like everything is coming through A-OK on the stream. There I am, ready to get up and get going. And I thought what I would do today, because it is Game 7, two of the sweetest and most terrifying words in all of sports, especially in baseball, because in a Game 7 in baseball, the sport completely changes. All of a sudden, absolutely everything is at the coach's disposal. Every pitcher, everyone but Trey Savage basically could get thrown in there tonight. All the starters, Kevin Gausman, Max Scherzer, maybe we'll even see Bassett and Lauer, who knows, but it is going to be fantastic. So for all the baseball fans out there, gear up. We are in for a hell of a exciting, nerve-wracking, butt-clenching time later tonight. But I want to get this stream in, then I'm going to go have dinner, and then I'm going to park my ass in front of the TV and watch the game like a true fan. So I wanted to stream a little closer to game time, but also I kind of didn't. I wanted to enjoy the pregame. I also thought, what if they win? Do I want to run outside and live stream that and any of the celebrations, or do I just want to enjoy it as a fan at home? So I think I'm going to stay in tonight no matter what. I remember asking some of the other live streamers, who I will not name names, if they are Blue Jays fans or if they watch the games, and they said no. And yet they've been making content about them. Oh well, I guess everyone's on the bandwagon now. Jenny Kritzkamp says 40 plus years of baseball games and playoffs. Bring it on. Yes. They were last in a Game 7, I think, in 1985. But they were last in the World Series in 93. 94, of course, was kiboshed by the walkout. And that was looking like the Expos year as we watch a train going east. What is SkyDome? We're not going to clarify that. And no Poindexter smartass is telling me that's not the name of the stadium. If you call it anything, well, you should be ashamed of yourself. But there's the CN Tower. So what we're going to do, maybe I'll head up to Front Street. We'll walk over to Yonge. I'll head down to the Waterfront, and then we'll mosey on over to the game. Or there's going to be some fans piling in a little early. You want to get that batting practice in, maybe have a beer or two, get your popcorn or your hot dog on. I thought long and hard about going to tonight's game. Tickets were actually more reasonably priced than Game 1 when I went. But I ultimately decided, nah. Let's watch it from the comfort of home. I'll probably try to snag some World Series tickets if it comes to it. The Jays would have home field advantage over the Dodgers, but if the Mariners take it, the Dodgers will have home field over them, I believe. Jenny K says, my late stepdad was a Jays fan, but a Royals fan. He liked Brett. He was conflicted that year. one of the all-time greats, George Brett, whose legacy will live on for the famous pine tar incident. I remember going to Kauffman Stadium, I think it was in the late 80s, back when all the seats were red, and seeing a Jays-Royals doubleheader. Pretty sure that was late 80s, if not it was early 90s. I used to go to a ton of baseball games when I was a kid. Howard Charco is here, greetings. I think I've been to a couple of dozen NHL games, 2 to 3 dozen. I've been to less than 50 NBA games, but Major League Baseball games, it's got to be up somewhere around 1,000 or so. In my life, I've certainly been to a lot. So needless to say, this is the sport I'm most excited about. I remember when I lived in Korea, I would often tune into regular season games in the wee hours of the morning just to watch them on shitty quality live streams. Jeffrey Wu is here. What's a good bar to watch the game at? I think the best bar would probably be Real Sports and Entertainment. But that is also probably the hardest bar to get into for a big game. Any playoff game, that bar is jumping. And there's an event going on at Scotiabank Arena, I think, tonight. There's people lined up around the building. There were a number of people inside. I don't know what it is. Tickets go on sale tomorrow. Yeah, you just have to try to beat all the bots and low-life ticket scalpers. Or do what I always do and just take it up the you-know-what and buy secondhand tickets after the fact. But I'm going to try to go to a World Series game or two. Hey, West Coast Walker is here. Greetings, Robert. So there's going to be a lot of Jays talk tonight. Sorry about that, but also not sorry. But it's like 98% of what occupies my mind. The other 2% was, where am I going to go to the bathroom? But I just eliminated that 2%. So I guess we're 100% thinking about what's going to happen tonight. Embedded SRAM is here. So this is Bay Street. I've got a little bit of time. I'm going to be streaming for about an hour and a half, hour and 45. So it's a little early to head over to the Dome. Laffy performing at the Scotiabank Arena. Whoever the heck that is. This is North Up Bay. This was all closed off yesterday. One of the things that kind of sucks around the Dome before a game is they always have these DJs out blasting music. Which is every YouTuber's or probably just YouTube. I think Twitch is okay with that. But that'll get your stream demonetized in a heartbeat. But we'll cross that bridge when I get there. Alex says it's been 30 years since the Jays went to a World Series. You do the math, 1993. And the Jays are 2-0 in World Series history. Back when they had Whamco. Devon White, Roberto Alomar, Paul Molitor, Joe Carter, John Olerud. And to think they added Ricky Henderson to make it Whamco. Kind of ridiculous when you have Devon White and Ricky Henderson at the top of the lineup. That's all good. This team has Ernie Clement. as we go north up Bay. It's that afternoon rush hour. I see that, Marge. Let me just navigate this crowd for a second. For a post-game celebratory IPA. Well, thank you, Marge, for the contribution towards a celebratory IPA for when they win, or a drowning your sorrows IPA if it doesn't go our way. Let's give Seattle some credit. They absolutely deserve to be where they are. I kind of like our pitching setup, though. If Bieber can go 5 innings, we should be golden. I think you go to Gausman for a couple of innings. And if they're up a healthy amount, maybe you even go to Mad Max. And they still got Hoffman if they need a shutdown inning in 8 or 9. I think he threw like 35 pitches yesterday or something like that. Sir Anthony is well rested. What I don't want to see is Fluharty or Little. I wouldn't mind seeing Bassett or Lauer actually, but we'll have to see. That's kind of the beauty of a Game 7. Everybody is at your disposal. Nobody is off limits. And there's the sun bearing down. Math doctor says anyone but Little and Dominguez. I don't mind Sir Anthony. No, I think Yasavage is the one guy who won't be wearing cleats today. I mean, maybe if you end up going extra innings, you trot him down to the bullpen. But if it's just a 9-inning game, I think there's no chance we see Yasavage. Just says how many days of rest to the World Series? 3 days. So we'll be well set up. If they don't use Gausman tonight, Gausman will be an easy Game 1 starter, and then you would just, I think, keep the rotation. Yasavage, then Bieber, and then maybe Max. I personally would probably put Bassett in there. But if they use Gausman tonight, you can always flip him and Yasavage. Have Trey start Game 1, Gausman Game 2. Greetings, Otto. Original 6 says Santander was a bust. Yeah, and even if he's healthy, he's got a big bat, but his defense is a bit of a liability, especially when you have guys like Lucas, Schneider, Straw, Loperfido. Not sure why you'd want Santander ever out in the outfield. Varsho too, of course. Greetings, Jasmine. So this is going east on Front Street for a little bit. Jenny K says they did good last night, but left too many runners on base. Well, the Mariners could say the same thing. That's baseball. We're just so used to them putting the ball in play and moving runners that when they strand them, it feels off, but it's definitely part of the game. This bike share here is rammed. You think of a bank when you hear Santander. Front Street is the best vibes? No, I would not agree with that. Maybe during rush hour. It just so happens to be where I'm walking. But we're gonna go south. and check out the waterfront. Jeanette is here. Greetings, Jeanette. There's the Hockey Hall of Fame just on the left. Do I have any pets? Well, I had a bunch of ants invading my kitchen recently. Does that count? I strategically placed some ant traps, and now they're all dead. Yeah, let's go south here. And there's what will be the tallest building in Canada going up. Greetings, Peter Bradfield. $45 and $49 stories. They're planned to go right above the old Dominion building. That's kind of crazy. Oh, she was wearing a Bills hoodie. There's a dude in a Jays hat. So this used to be the bus terminal on the right. That was relocated into CIBC Square, which is right where I started this. There's a Flatiron-esque building that houses a Novotel. We're gonna go dink and donk around the waterfront a little bit. Peter Bradfield. Yes, ants and other insects, spiders and lizards count as pets. Thanks for the confirmation, Peter. So there you go. I at least did have pets till I killed all those little buggers. I think they probably came from one of my neighbor's units. What was gross was I always have this habit of checking my Keurig water tank ahead of time before I make a coffee, and I had about 4 ants like just swimming in there one day, and that's what triggered me to buy the ant traps. So I opted just to make a tea that morning and gave the Keurig a thorough scrub, and I kept the tank empty until I needed to use it, until the little ant problem was settled. There's something you didn't need to know about. Do I think the Jays are winning today? I have no idea. But look at that neat view of the tower. Do I want the Jays to win? Yes. Do I think they'll win? It's baseball. It's game 7. There's literally no way to know. Cy Young Bieber's pitches will be key tonight. He holds the keys. But Kirby, not, oh, there's a Lambo, not looking so hot lately. I think we'll end up seeing Bizzardo brought in pretty early. I'm willing to predict we'll see Bizzardo and Brian Wu again. Maybe Springer gets beamed by Wu and we end up having a brawl. There's a wild prediction. As we look north up Yonge, Mick76 says, "Hey Johnny, happy walking, greetings." And Divyesh Patel, "Come to Bathurst and St. Clair, meet your puppy." Won't be able to get there on this stream. I got din-din plans. And a baseball game to watch. Hopefully tomorrow's the happy kind of hangover. This is Lakeshore. MG Max says Gardiner Expressway. The crumbling Gardiner Expressway is above us. But we're going to get a real neat look at the new Pinnacle Tower going up. Craig says, enjoy the game. Go Jays go. I've been watching the game on Sportsnet lately and then switching over to FS1 for the postgame. As a Lambo casually rolls by. Is that thing fixing a crumbling Gardiner or what? Or they're using that to fix it? Watch out for falling cement. That's certainly a possibility, eh? My neighbors must have thought I was nuts yesterday, clapping and cheering from my couch. Not yet at super tall status, but it will be. That's soon to be the tallest building in the country. Our Charco says, with all the right bounces going our way, who knows? Well, the Mariners made a trio of errors yesterday. I don't really blame that throw on Cal Raleigh. I think a third baseman ought to be able to come up with that, but there were still 3 errors. Lorraine McLean is here. You're always shocked at the fancy cars in Toronto. You don't see them in your rural community. I'm shocked to see them just because the roads are so bad. Like, you'd have to be constantly slowing down. Just kind of tiptoeing over a lot of the potholes and speed bumps and that sort of thing. But hey, we hit 431 viewers. Thank you so much, guys. If you want to join in the chat, you do have to be subscribed to the channel, but the good news is it is free. If you want to be notified when I go live next, do subscribe and hit that bell button. I'll probably go live, I doubt tomorrow, but probably Wednesday. Usually it's 3-4 times a week. And Sunday nights over on the Johnny Stumbles channel. I've been doing some Blue Jay watch-alongs on that channel. I'll do 1 or 2 if we make the World Series. Hi Johnny, I want to let you know that today is October 20th, not the 30th. Where did I put the 30th? Did I put that in the stream description? But look at that, we've got 65% chance according to ESPN Analytics. One second, let me see, did I goof? Oh, it says recorded on October 20th. I don't know what you're talking about, eh? This is Harbor Street.
No, yeah. But
Greetings, Sweet Pea 63. Oh, I said the 30th in my intro. Oops.
I am, yeah. I'm just having to stay quiet.
I'm sure that won't be the last time I ever do that. I can't tell you how many AI slot videos I've seen on Toronto that mispronounce Yonge Street. I've even heard some actual urbanist YouTubers mispronounce Yonge Street. Like, geez, spend 2 seconds researching what you're talking about. I've heard Yonge Street, Yonge Street. I mean, I've mispronounced things too, but you're making an essay on the city. Am I betting on the Jays game tonight? No. Sports betting is a very foolish thing to engage in. I mean, you have to be right enough to overcome the juice. It's ultimately a losing venture for 99% plus of the people out there. Hey, if it adds to your enjoyment, go for it. To me, I just feel like a sucker. But there's Lake Ontario and the islands off in the distance. And Marie and Brad Palmer are familiar with this place on the right. Mick75 said you always thought it was Yonge Street, Y-O-U-N-G, until like 5 years ago. Well, at least you're pronouncing it right. There's a look north up Yonge Street. Hey, Alicia's here. Elena's here. North York. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get tickets. I'll be a little keyboard warrior in the morning trying to fight for those tickets, but I'll probably end up on StubHub like I always do, just overpaying out the ass for them like an idiot. I went to most of the games in 2015 and 2016. One of the games I didn't go to was the Batista bat flip game. But I got to see Edwin's walk off. That one was crazy. Probably the single craziest moment I've ever witnessed live at a sports event. And I went to game 1 of this series, which was pretty fun and exciting up until they lost. But this is Front Street. We are going west on the south side. There's the Burlington Cougars. Burlington is a suburb not of Toronto, but of Hamilton. But I think it's still considered part of the GTA. But more people commute from Burlington to Hamilton than from Burlington to Toronto. But it's way out there in suburbia to the west of here. All right, let's take a little detour along the waterfront. Eventually I'm gonna get to the SkyDome and then probably go to St. Andrew or Union. We got a little bit of time. That dude's getting his cardio in on hard mode. I'm kind of doing it on easy mode. Buy the cheapest you can and just hang out in the 100 level vendor area. I like going for those front row seats. That's what I had last time. I was in section 214. Right in row 1. There's a little bit extra space in front of you, so you don't mind as much when people have to squish by. You can put your feet up. You get cup holders. The rows behind you don't have them. It's kind of like the SkyDome equivalent of sitting in the front row of an airplane. Get that exit aisle action. Plus, if you're with someone who's shorter, they won't mind when everyone stands up, because their view won't get cut off. There's people making their way back into the city from the islands. That's the Jack Layton Ferry Terminal. When I went to game 1, I got there about 90 minutes early. People going now are going to be 3 hours early. Look how nice this is. We got the islands off in the distance, the Portland's over there. Johnny won't be long before the Eglinton Crosstown opens up, a couple of weeks. Let's cross our fingers and hope. Let's hope that once it's open, it actually runs smoothly, unlike a certain long-awaited LRT in Ottawa. And it says beautiful view. Beautiful view indeed. Annoying guy who won't shut up on the mic, but the view is beautiful. Billy Bishop Airport off in the distance. Carl Roth says buy a bleachers ticket and then wait until the game starts and see who's actually sitting down in the upper deck and stand closer to the pound and then move over. I don't know. I don't think I could ever bring myself to sit in a ticket that, or in a seat that wasn't mine. I once had a lady, I was boarding a flight to China. And this lady, I always book aisle seats on those long hauls. And this was China Eastern Airlines. And I got in the plane and there was this old Chinese lady sitting in my seat. And I showed her my ticket, and then she just yelled at me in China or in Chinese, I think Mandarin. And then someone tapped me on the shoulder and said, she's telling you to sit somewhere else. So I just kind of stood there, and other people were trying to squish through, so I had to stand in another aisle. So anyways, I put my bag over top of that seat, and a flight attendant came over, and I told her, hey, this lady won't get out of my seat. And she asked to see her boarding passes. And then the flight attendant said something in Mandarin to the lady that was sitting there, and she yelled at the flight attendant. She wasn't having anything to do with it. The flight attendant looked at me and apologized. It said, sorry, would you mind trading seats with her? And I said, no, not unless her seat is an aisle seat. It's a long haul flight. I went out of my way to make sure I had an aisle seat ahead of time. I want to be able to stand up and use the facility whenever I want to, take a walk around. That's part of the deal. So eventually 2 flight attendants had to come, and this lady was yelling at them a fair bit, but eventually she got up and moved. So yeah, not sitting in your assigned seat, I am not a fan of that. But if it's like the 6th, 7th inning and no one has showed up yet, then who really cares? Rodrigo says, Johnny, you should come to Chile. I'm going to go in January in the summertime. That's me, hello. Hey, friendly dude, going for a run. I think he's wearing some TFC gear. Yeah, I'd love to go to Chile. That view of the sun over the water is amazing. Brad Palmer says, happy Monday. Prulsey said, stupid, idiotic people. Yeah, that seagull. Probably wishing I would drop a piece of bread or something. Do you know that there's over 530 people watching you? Do you care? Don't think they care. Howdy from Etobicoke. Are you going to visit the sundial fully, just the next part? That big Death Star type sculpture? I guess we could go by there. Just doing a little hangout. I don't know what I would be doing if I wasn't live streaming. Just staring at my TV, waiting for 8 p.m. Probably. And Murphy says, walk faster. Saying stuff like that just makes me want to go slower, man. Hey, we got a plane landing at Billy Bishop. Female Crusader says beautiful day for a live stream and seeing the water. Yeah, there's not going to be too many really nice days where we can come hang out here, and I wanted to go to the Dome. So this seemed like a nice thing to do beforehand. Lisa says dance YouTuber. Walk faster. Stop swearing. Blah, blah, blah. Swifty, that was one of 2 incidents I've ever had on an airplane. There was that one where that lady took my seat and refused to go, and I had to get the flight attendants to kick her out. There was another, I was on like a VietJet flight. It was like an hour long. And we get up in the air, and the person in front of me reclined their seat. This is like a super budget flight. And their seat just came crashing into my knees. I'm not even that tall. But I was like, okay, I'll recline my seat now. You know, the seat has the option to recline. You paid for it. I cheaped out and bought a $100 plane ticket, so that's really my problem. So I reclined, and then the dude behind me threw a hissy fit. He started pounding on the back of my seat and yelling at me. He had a European accent. I'm not sure where he was from. And I just stood up, turned around, and asked him if it was his first time ever being on a flight. And told him if he wanted some room, maybe he should have not flown on a budget airline. And some people around me were kind of laughing. I mean, if the dude was like 7 feet tall or something, or 400 pounds, I would have recognized that and been like, okay, I won't recline. But he was smaller than me. Like, fuck you, the person in front of me reclined. You don't see me throwing a hissy fit. Jasmine says, gotta love travel stories. Matt Doctor says Ryanair flights or fights are the worst. Yeah, if your seat can recline, you have every right to recline it, as long as it's not like meal service. I always look behind me, make sure the person isn't a giant or pregnant or needs some kind of mobility assistance. If they're just like me or you, boom, my seat is going back. Sorry, not sorry. That really bothers some people. That's their tough shit. Billy T says, I remember when flying was classy. It was a little too classy back in the day. People used to smoke on flights. I don't know about that. I don't think there ever was a good time to fly if you're always at the back of the plane. Are the large vessels still docked at Sugar Beach? That's a good question. I didn't quite think I had time to go check that out. Here's a view I absolutely love. I featured this in a number of thumbnails, and I'm sure I will again. CN Tower in the middle of the Water Club towers. I think those ladies there were showing off their marathon medallions, if I'm not mistaken. Kudos to them. Awesome shit, doing what I could never do. I'm pretty sure that's what they were posing with. We'll check out Harborfront briefly, then I'll make my way up to the Dome. You grew up in Toronto and back then it was more industrial. Yeah, the waterfront has changed quite drastically. I think it gets mixed reviews because there were definitely some mistakes made, like these condos that really kind of cut things off and go right up to the waterfront almost, but I think it's pretty damn good the way it is. I'd reconfigure the Martin Goodman Trail, make that a dedicated bike lane, screw the multi-use trail. It makes no sense to be there with such a big pedestrian corridor right next to it, but other than that, I have little to complain about. I think our waterfront downtown is quite excellent. Chef says take some blueberry muffins for the Jays game. Odyssey Toronto. Ah, the old color blue. I see what you're doing with that. RD says Toronto's waterfront is incredible. Many cities would be jealous. I don't disagree. It's better than what they have in Barcelona. I mean, Barcelona has a world-class beach there, but it's not a very pleasant place to go hang out and walk along. Whereas I would argue this kind of is. That doctor says maybe it's a bit too cold to open the roof for tonight's game. Yeah, I think so. It was closed. It was 16 yesterday and the roof was closed. Greetings, Bean Butt. I'll dip down right by the water itself for a second. Math Doctor says anything beats the Chao Phraya River in Bangkok. Chao Phraya? Yeah, but you can get a river tour there on the official public boats that'll cost you next to nothing. And there's a lot of fantastic hop-on, hop-off spots. Or you could do a night cruise and have a pretty good dinner on like one of those party boats that goes along the river. So while the water might be filthy, I kind of like that spot in Bangkok. Oh, well, let's head up to the Dome at Queens Quay Terminal. I had to come here at the end of last week and meet that German TV crew that was making the documentary. I had to sign a release form. And I was like, just send it to me and I'll sign it digitally and send it back. And they're like, we need your pen on paper for this one. So I was like, okay, and this is where they were filming, so I had to come meet them here. So I would expect some shots from this area. Kartik says Gosman better pitch today. What's with you and Gosman? He's a starter, and he would be the game one starter if they're winning comfortably. I think you leave him on the bench. But if Bieber gets into trouble early, yeah, you probably bring Gosman in for a couple of innings. And I would probably even go to Max Scherzer before I went to any of the usual suspects in the bullpen. In the later innings, I think Sir Anthony and Hoffman take care of things. But if Bieber goes 5-6, and if we're up a few runs, I don't think you put Gosman in. You probably just followed the same script as yesterday and put Varland in for one or two. And then you would go to Gosman if things somehow end up closer than they should be. Okay, we got a crossing here. Let's cross. We're gonna skip walking by Love Park. Janet says 200 likes. Thank you, everyone. Jenny K says, can we replace IKF? He had a slick double play yesterday with Jimenez. And he's been putting the ball in play. So I don't know, maybe you would put Ernie on second, Barger on third, Lucas in right, and Schneider in left. And you still have Loperfido if you need to plug a hole in the outfield. And you can always bring IKF into the infield later if you need the defense. And move Clement to third. I don't know, I don't hate IKF starting, but I haven't seen the starting lineup actually. But we are going north up to Bremner. Let's see, do we have a starting lineup yet? Mariners, Jays. Toronto lineup. We got Springer, Lucas, Guerrero, Kirk, Varsho, Clement, Barger, IKF, and Jimenez. Is Kirk the only catcher? No, they've got Heineman. But in the playoffs, you just ride your starting catcher. I mean, they haven't even been taking Kirk out during some of the more lopsided games. But I think you don't hesitate to take him out if he's on base in a close game because, you know, he's the slowest runner in all of baseball. Put Straw or Loperfido on base. and then have Heinemann come catch. Darren says, one thing I've noticed is there isn't as much hype for the Jays as 30 years ago. I was living out in the suburbs back then, so I couldn't compare that. I was also like 13 years old when that went down. I'll tell you though, I'm a hell of a lot more excited for this than I was during the Raptors run. I think a World Series win would just blow the lid off of this city. Greetings, Dirk G. But probably nothing would top a Leaf Stanley Cup victory in terms of the excitement you would see in the city, but I think a World Series win would be second by far. One sec. MVP Springer hitting .375 against Kirby in his career. Kevin says it would be very tough to beat the Dodgers if they get to the World Series. One of the good things with that matchup is the Dodgers hitting is kind of streaky. If they hit a cold patch and the Jays are able to scratch out runs against their amazing starters, it might be a closer series than people are predicting. We're going to be able to cross in a few seconds here. Lisa says the mental investment in this, hoo boy. Oh, I almost went. I got fooled. They got an advanced screen. Bench Schneider and Walker elevate Mattingly. I would have Schneider on the shortest leash imaginable. And you know Walker is approving all of these dumb moves. They might even be his idea. So who knows? Look at this cocksucker sitting right there in front of two cops, not signaling his turn. There's a Porsche. There's Maple Leaf Square. So in there is Real Sports and Entertainment, a giant sports bar. There's going to be a lot of people enjoying the game on a giant screen tonight. All hands on deck except you Savage, yeah. Unless it goes to like 15 or 16 innings. I think there is zero chance Savage even puts his cleats on tonight, let alone makes the strut down to the bullpen. There's a Jays fan. Are we prepared for extra innings? I think that's where a Bassett or Lauer might be super handy. We could eat up some serious innings if it came to that. But there is the Dome straight ahead. I wonder what uniforms the Jays are wearing today. They wore the all whites last night with the white panel hats. That's a very rare combination. It used to be the norm. But lately they've been at home wearing the white pants with the dark blues. There are going to be a ton of cops on Bremner tonight. They close off the street in front of the Dome, at least half of it. Those cops had vests on that said AH, public disorder. I think that's what the unit they work for is. So in other words, crowd control. There's where the action's going down. Looks like we've got a closed lid, no surprise there. Tower over Olympic Park on the corner there. There's going to be throngs of Blue Jays fans walking this route very soon. You got three main ways to get from Union Station to the Dome. You could take Bremner here, or you could walk through the Skyway or the Skywalk, or you could walk along Front. Or if you get off at St. Andrew, you could just head south from there. Hop over to John Street. And it is a beautiful night to be out here. Alright, I'm actually going to do something I don't like to do and activate the noise canceling in my microphone, just hopefully so it drowns out some of that music they're blasting. Sorry if it sounds a little weird. Alright, I'm actually going to do something I don't like to do and activate the noise canceling. I don't know how well we can get my microphone just hopefully so it drowns out some of that music they're blasting. Sorry if it sounds weird. But they've got a DJ in front of the Dome. I'm actually going to do something. And there's someone with a 360 camera. I don't know how well we can. All right, I don't think it's working that well. I think the music is still making its way to you guys, unfortunately. Apparently the guy who always plays the drums in front of here is retiring. He's kind of been a mainstay, and he was always here in front of Argos games as well. But there's what I meant by the police closing the street. Sorry guys, I just muted it because the stream might get nuked in a lot of territories if we pick up a music copyright. But I'll bring the audio back when I get to the other side here. This is the base of the CN Tower. Well, that guy's got a DJI Pocket 3. A huge thanks everyone for tuning in today. Hope you enjoy the stream, and I hope you will enjoy the Blue Jay game later tonight if you're into that. That's what I'll be doing. That lady is just getting swung all over the place. It's twice I almost crashed into her. I think it's the guy on the drums we hear right now who is retiring. Crazy, that guy we just walked past lives in my building. Oh no, this is not the guy. This is like a... TV crew, CBC. So when I came to the game on last Monday, or last Sunday I think it was. Yeah, it was on a Sunday. There was the gate I went to. Good old gate 4. Greetings, Jasan. Scott says help him find his second ball. You're welcome, VVav. It's quite the view of the South Core. Pro says definitely pretty good vibes tonight. I hope all these people have a great night and see an awesome game. That dude has more talent at walking on stilts than I'll ever have. I mean, that should be obvious, but I think most people would probably faceplant if they even tried to do that. So there's the Marriott Hotel. They got like the City Connect branding right there. Lisa wants to do that. Walk on stilts. Hey, we're at 652 viewers. Thank you guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell. There will be no post-victory celebratory stream because I will be hammered in front of the TV probably. Am I going to the game? No. I only went to one playoff game this series. But I'm going to try to get World Series tickets tomorrow should they win. But we're still 2 hours and 20 minutes before game time. So you could still catch some BP if you're walking in now. But what I'll do is I'll walk along Front Street against the herd of Blue Jay fans coming into the stadium that way. But this is about as jealous as I get of all these people going into the stadium. Jenny Cases, I can always message you. Rod says curtains closed at the hotel. There was that famous incident where a couple was doing a certain activity and hung out in the windows in their birthday suits. My grandparents treated themselves to a hotel room, I think a few times, way back in the 90s, and watched a few games from there. The places on Front Street do a pretty good pre-game business. There's this place here, the Pint Public House, Boston Pizza, there's a Jack Astor's, the Loose Moose, and a place called Kelly's Landing that I'm sure will be a sea of Blue Jay fans having a pre-game meal. I'm going to get myself to Union Station because I've got some dinner plans to squeeze in before the game. I would say in an hour from now, there's going to be about triple the amount of people making their way to the Dome. Jenny Cases, you think you've seen 4 games in your lifetime? 3 at the SkyDome and 1 at Exhibition Stadium? When I was growing up, one of the guys my dad worked with had season tickets just a few rows above first base. And we'd often be recipients of those tickets. So I used to go to a ton of games at Exhibition Stadium growing up, and then when they moved over to the SkyDome in '89,
I feel we just go Shane and then kind of.
I got to go to a number of games, including the third ever game at SkyDome, the first time it ever rained and they had to close the roof mid-game. That guy just said, I think we should go Shane, then Gosman. We'll have to see. Maybe if Shane can only go 2 or 3, I would go to Gosman, but if he goes 5 or 6, I'd probably do Varland, Sir Anthony, Hoffman. All these lucky ducks making their way to the dome. My dad was at the first ever game at Exhibition Stadium when it snowed, and I think they had to bring a Zamboni onto the field. And I think that was the same day the Seattle Mariners had their first ever game. Toronto has just been a tad more successful as a franchise since then. This is the furthest Seattle has ever gotten. Yeah, we're starting to see waves of Jays fans. The question is, if they lose, how many of these people are going to still wear their Jays caps out? And if they win, you're going to hear an amount of honking on the streets that we haven't heard since the Raptors won their championship like 6-7 years ago. There will be a lot of honking. Remember after the game where Donaldson came home on a ball to first, I walked back to Dundas Square and there were people climbing the light posts. It was just a party. So tonight could be that kind of environment out here. In any cases, I might have to retire my Jays hat tomorrow. I'll still wear mine. This was a way better season than what we thought we were going to have. One cool thing is if you're familiar with how free agency works, Shane Bieber, our starting pitcher, is a free agent after this year. So he's essentially pitching for a big contract. If he has a great game tonight, we could be looking at like $100 or $200 million. Whereas if he doesn't, he might still be seen as a bit of a dice roll by potential suitors. So nobody has more motivation to do better in tonight's game than Shane Bieber.
Mike was in the basement last night.
I mean, his net worth could swing tens of millions of dollars based on his performance in this one game. And it's not too often an athlete is in that position. There's a number of Jays fans pouring into the Loose Moose. So there's that place. That Jack Astor's will be full of Jays fans. And a place coming up called Kelly's Landing. Peter Bradfield, halfway in making those chips for you. Go Jays. Peter Bradfield, thank you for yet another super chat. Thank you so much, Peter, for the support. Thanks for supporting the Jays. Chris J, welcome to Silver Tier. Welcome, Chris J. Thank you for joining the ranks of channel membership. Thank you so much. I've still got to do a members exclusive video for the month or two. This is one of the best places to go before a game. So if I manage to snag World Series tickets tomorrow, the next thing I'm going to do is book this place before the games I'm able to get tickets for. I think that's the best pregame spot to go to. Greetings, Jennifer Gala. I ended up going to the Elephant and Castle last time. So there's not much time left in the stream. I'm gonna pop into the subway at Union and squeeze some dinner in between now and game time. Dude rocking out. This is Front Street, Union Station on the right. After the game, a lot of people will be heading there to catch a GO train off to Suburbia or a subway into the city. If you're going north up the Yonge Street side, go to St. Andrew instead and grab a southbound train. You'll have a much more comfortable trip. And if you're going northbound up University side, go to King Station and grab a southbound train. That's at least if you want to get a seat. But you know what, folks? I'm going to put my camera gear away and get ready to go pick up some food. But hopefully they win and we make the World Series. A little bit of a taxi etiquette squabble. I think that guy cut the unofficial cue there. Only half of that argument is in English, so I can't make everything out, but I think that's what they're getting at. But anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you to our mods for their good work, Patreon supporters, channel members, everyone who sent support. Go Jays, go Medano. $20 for the StubHub fund if they win tonight, or some IPAs if they lose. I think we'll see the IPA IPAs get consumed either way. But Medano, thank you for modding and thank you for the support. That is awesome. Go Jays, go. And if you're a Mariners fan, all the best to you. Good luck. It's anyone's game. It's a game 7. Nothing is off limits. No player won't be considered by the managers, except for yesterday's starters probably. Well, thank you so much. And if you're going to the game, you lucky bastards. But thank you so much. Go Jays. There'll be a video tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. EST, or a premiere, one of the two.
Rosedale. Rosedale.
Rosedale photo?
That guy's going to Rosedale, and he's got a Harry Rosen suit in a bag. I'm willing to guess he's doing pretty well for himself. But anyways, thank you so much, guys. Let's go Blue Jays. Cheers to you. Thank you.